coming in. And how confident are you guys about your prediction for this match? Do you also think this is going to be a close one?
I don't know, Necro, man. We predicted New York, right, in our bracket, but it's Justice that won last time, and it's playing, so the stakes are so high, and the teams get a humongous buff from this. I don't know. What do you think?
I'm still gonna go New York's way. I just feel like they're coming into this one with a little bit more practice and prep in terms of just how much they've been able to show us in these last 2 weeks, and I guess it's a little bit of recency bias when you just take a look at how well put together their compositions feel right now.
Yes, this is like, it's only been a couple matches, right, during this meta, and there's going to be a whole different one for playoffs, and play-ins are so much hype. This first match, y'all, Justice versus the Excelsior, the loser is out. The end of the season, the end of the road. We actually have to take an extra minute just to get everyone seated because Get Amazed with the Justice had to have a huddle. This is a team with so much passion.
It really is. Every single loss, every single win, there's always so much that this team dissects to take away from that learning experience. And Washington Justice, they are coming into the rest of this patch with 2 losses under their belt already. They had some really tough opponents, though. They went up against the Atlanta Reign, and they went up against the Toronto Defiant in this patch, and both of those teams look incredibly good. So I wonder if Zoe's right. Maybe there is a little bit of something that Washington Justice just haven't got a chance to quite show us yet.
You're like, yeah, both these teams look good. Mirror's like, I'm gonna make sure I look good. He's like checking his bag. He's perfectly.
He's got the phone out to do the selfie, you know?
I'm so dead. Okay, well, see how dead they are in our first map. This is picked by the Excelsior. We're going to Antarctic Peninsula.
Right, we got Antarctic Peninsula. New York are the upper seed, so they get a chance to pick this map first, and then it's going to go to a loser's pick. And this map is really interesting because neither of these teams really have too much experience on it. Washington Justice have played this twice, and both of them were losses versus the Toronto Defiant as well as the Atlanta Reign. And New York, they're also not the strongest on this map just based on how many times that they played it and what their record has been. But maybe that's the secret. Play something that isn't so familiar and maybe you trip up your opponent.
I gotta inject drama into this. Not that, you know, the match for
Hit me with the tea.
The drama. Florida's going up against his former team, the one that put him in the league, and he could be the one that knocks him out for good for the season. But he has to go up against Fitz on, well, usually a Sojourn pick. We'll see if Flora swaps, usually for the TP out, but that's a tough matchup for him.
That is going to be so tough, especially with the pop-offs that we ended up seeing from Fitz just in these past 2 weeks. This Sojourn, just such a critical pick to go on those flanks and make sure that you can get those overclocks and those railgun shots, because sometimes that is just a big difference maker if you can snipe somebody out already. And we're going to end up seeing the Orisa coming out from Kellen and Mir on the Junker Queen. This is another matchup that I've had my eyes on between both of these tanks.
And missed Maywall from Psycho. Justice able to squeeze out of that. Points about to unlock though, and Justice are in a position first, but this is the low ground. New York can kind of just juggle both sides, see if they can sneak up behind. I think Psycho is trying to do that, slowing Alpha Yi on his entry, reinforces hyping this guy up, and Alpha Yi stealing some of the highest in this match. So far, it is Justice capping first as they went for the fight, and New York went for a back cap. Both teams playing this ring around the rosy where how has Alpha Yi just lived this long? He got an important shout there for Mir to live through that. Excelsior got desperate for that kill, and they ended up tripping over their shoelaces.
Well, that's Donghoon right there. You talk about Alpha Yi staying alive, and that's just the pocket that Donghoon has been able to prepare for Alpha Yi. Whether it's going to be the speed or whether it's the healing boost, Alpha Yi knows that he is covered, especially with such a great player. I mean, Lemon Kiwi, you had a chance to cast Donghoon before, and he really is a standout support.
You don't get to say that about a lot of main supports, especially Brig players. Donghoon was so aggressive on the Lucio, but especially known for his Brigida on Dreamers, and one of the very few players that got picked up from contenders recently. Let's see how this Photon Barrier does. Protects Justice well. Alfie's just gonna dash past it, right in the line of fire of an Amp Matrix placed there by OG. New York didn't even really get to use it. They hid away. The Justice poke is too strong. Captain Sun from Creative cuts down Flora. Alpha Yi with the blade, still getting kills at the HP that he has. Immortality from Teru kept him up too.
This is starting to look really rough for New York. You've got Fitz on the Sojourn. The overclock did absolutely nothing into the team. They didn't even need to invest the sound barrier into that fight. They didn't even have it online. So the fact that Washington Justice were able to just strike first and strike harder, this Alpha Yi Genji, what an ace in the hole for Washington Justice, and something that New York are struggling to work around. That was a huge blade and such a big difference maker. And now Mirror's gonna have the Rampage too.
Oh, Mirror just went behind. Rampage 2. Creative and Fitz are dead. And this was the last fight for the point. Well, of course, his Blizzard's gonna come out. Does he get the trade? Psycho gets one, but that's all the work that Excelsior have gotten done on this first round. And 100-0 is quite the statement to make. Huddle buff? We'll see on round 2.
Kind of feels like a huddle buff. Whatever Get Amaze said to them, it feels like it is just such a confidence booster. And confidence is so king when it comes down to playing in these high stakes matches, because if you're confident, that can affect the way that you play. Maybe you play a bit more aggressively. You play with a bit more wind in your sails. And Mirror going over the Junker Queen, so confident right now. That is a huge pocket pick for him too.
Go to sub-level, where the rush can be very important on that high ground. You had the Orisa, you had the Junker Queen, a Mirror, the creativity that he brings to ignore that tank and go for the backline. Excelsior have to be careful for this. This decides map number 1, and this was New York's pick.
This was New York's pick, but it feels like it's going to be coming up Justice if they can keep this up. Flora's going to be switching over to the Sojourn for this as well. Sub-level has so much high ground that you can play around and so many flank routes that the Sojourn can be really effective on. And so now we get a chance to see the Flora and Fitz duel with the Sojourn, as well as whether or not like the Psycho May can actually slow down this Alpha Yi Genji. And it can't right now.
New York have struggled. Oh, well, now they're going to talk about that. Alfie has had so much freedom, but he has really great mobility on the Genji, double jumping, dashing in, going behind, trying to split up that focus of New York. It's worked out. Of course, Mirror places the shout pretty strategically to help Alfie get that extra cushion to escape those situations. Even at 20 HP, Alfie is finding value on the blades. The desk were absolutely right that Alfie was going to be a factor for Justice.
Really and truly though, because even when you look at just the last 2 matches that Washington Justice played, like even the Toronto Defiant loss for them was actually quite close. And a huge difference maker was Alpha Yi. Those blades are just such strong fight winners for this team. He doesn't even need the nano boost to pull that off, and I think that's really special in a meta like this. If you can go in with a vanilla blade and constantly get 2 to 3 player picks, that's just perfect. You can't expect anything any more else from a Genji like that.
Not sure what the pause is about, but we're about to go back in. Justice all smile. I would be too. Winning 100-0 the first round. Looks like the first fight is going their way. Haru, good immortality too. Alpha, he's killed too, so they can just keep going.
They keep going, and they're just gonna continue to get bodies. Like New York Excelsior at this point, they really need to start picking up the pace, whether it's going to be an opening pick from Fitz's Sojourn, or even just making sure that they can play more together as a unit. Something that I think is really interesting about New York right now is that they're playing OG and Creative on Baptiste and Olari respectively. Usually when we've seen the Baptiste and Olari backline, it's been Fitz moving over to the support lineup instead of OG to play the Olari, and so Creative can continue to play that Baptiste. So I wonder if this is kind of New York, again, like as you said, kind of tripping over those shoelaces, getting a little bit dizzy in terms of how they want to actually play this comp, and I feel like the lack of Lucio is hurting them a little bit just with their mobility.
When Alpha is farming them, though, how can you have the thought? New York sometimes prioritize the objective. They don't know when they want to go for the fight. How do you get this monkey off of your back of this damn Genji sliced up your backline? It's got to be up to the straight mechanics of OG and Creative. These are heroes that should be able to duel, especially if you can catch Alpha with that deflect.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's something else that Fitz is having a hard time playing around, is that deflect is just so powerful to be able to send a charged railgun shot right back at you. And even still, like, Flora is also checking him so beautifully. Alfie has a blade!
3-for-1 slice? Are you serious? especially with the immortality. Like, there's only so much you can do. Your immortality only buys you a few seconds. You need to kill him. The slows of the Mei are not enough. Justice could go 200 flawless if New York don't have a solution.
I mean, Floor has the overclock. Just set him up on a high ground. That is such a strong way to shut down New York as they start to come back in to recontest this point. And Mirror's behind them with the rampage.
Oh, here it comes. But Creative Sun from New York, the Blizzard, the Ant Matrix, Excelsior throwing everything at this. But the anti-heal, the rampage is too much. New York don't even have supports. And Psycho is just being trapped. He's like, I'm gonna put myself in a cage. 99 to 100. Make that 200-0 for Justice on their first map.
Justice came at this with a game plan. That huddle worked. Whatever it was that was said to them, they looked like they were all smiles and all confidence heading into this first map. New York, though, they are a scrappy team. This is not a team that I would count out by any stretch of the means, especially when they get a chance to pick again moving forward into the next map. But what do you do? What do you do against this team?
I don't know. I just know that the Mei wasn't it. You're just not finding the valuable Mei walls. Even on this first round, they just weren't perfect. If you leave just an inch and they can get away, you lose all of that Mei wall value. The Blizzard, I mean, Justice are just such a mobile team. I think the Mei needed to come out for something, another answer to the Genji, a Genji of their own even. I don't know, but New York just didn't fight fire with fire.
It just looks so rough around the edges. But, you know, that's something about Control that has always been so unique, right? Is these are so scrappy, you end up looking at momentum, and hey, Jen, we got our next map pick. We're going to Midtown.
Quick pick by New York, and this is a best of 5, so not a lot of time. Maybe New York need one of those huddles and figure out how do you deal with the Genji. He's on your screen, he is the threat. Alpha Yi, the ceiling is high. We'll see what happens on the other side of the break. Justice doubters, where are you at? Because 200-0 on Control is something else, and we got the man for the job for map number 2. Ben Best is in.
Ben Best versus Mirror. This was a question that was on everybody's minds heading into this match, is who's going to actually play these maps? There looked like there would be a game plan heading into that final match for Washington just last week versus Toronto, where Mirror and Ben Best, they kind of just traded spots. And Mirror coming back in though, now that's a new one. To see him in the support lineup, we haven't seen this yet, outside of that one time that he subbed in for Donghoon.
Yeah, I was talking to the Justice about why not have Terra on the Delare since they don't have that second double flex. They prefer they prefer Teru in on the BAP with another Illari choice being Mirror. You know, that former DPS skill, it's still in him. It's still there. But OG being in tells me, okay, we're probably going to see more Lucio, and pretty important to just be able to momentum push your way through this under subway side.
Yeah, so Ben Best coming into the roster, I would expect to see some Orisa here. That was the main tank that he ended up playing in that last patch match. And then for Mirror, I would love to see the Illari come out here. He has such high mechanical skill. And this is not the first time we've seen a DPS actually slot into that support role to play the Illari specifically. I mean, take a look at Fitzy on the other side, right? Going over to actually take the Illari instead of creative. So I'd love to see if this is going to be something that pays off for the Justice. Having the Ashe as well on the high ground is so nice to also just have that dot damage too from the Dynamites when New York Excelsior come in, because they're coming in as a unit.
I like that OG's on the BAP. I forgot that even back in the day, he was like known as this Lucio god, but then started picking up the Zen. And we thought, man, just not that many main supports that have been able to start flexing into that flex support role. And now for the BAP, gotta show those mechanics, try to poke your way through, get the kills you need to get through this side. This is just such a tough choke to get through.
Really, it's because, like, where do you go, right? You can go down main, but then you run the risk of potentially getting speared or even just getting headshot. Flora has the ability to just take out, like, Squishy Hero in, like, a 2-3 tap, plus the Dynamite. And you also can go behind these chokes, I guess, but that's also really tough because you have the Torbjorn turret that's going to be set up. That's something you got to take out right away, but Alpha Yi still has the ability to go set that up somewhere else once that's down.
Yeah, just good awareness from Flora. Keep your focus on the main choke, but also throw those Dynamites to try and zone off that back alleyway flank that you pointed out. New York have maybe crept their way through, but Psycho getting that first pick and winning against Alpha E was trying to protect Flora there at the time. Justice, the angles around them are being taken and getting shredded. New York can, with good patience, move their way towards the point.
That was really fantastic patience too, because I feel like there were a lot of opportunities for New York Excelsior to actually overextend. Like, you get the turret down, fantastic, like, go. But there were still so many other obstacles in the way that New York were able to get down. Just take care of the flankers, Alfie and Flora. Make sure you limit the amount of damage you're going to end up taking, because, you know, Baptiste does do a lot of burst healing, but also when you take a look at Creative being able to set up that pylon, you want to make sure that that's going to be in a stationary enough place that your team can actually get some use out of it. And look at this too, Alfie's just out on his own.
Captain Sun in just a tiny room like that. W goes to Creative. And New York have gotten first bloods quite a few times in these fights, so they just get to keep on pushing. Benbest can do all he can to slow it down, but he's not holding that bridge.
So tough too once you are already down a member or so. You're just gonna get run over by the New York Excelsior, especially when Kellen is playing this Orisa. This is a hero he's really started to shine on, and he's able to take those mirrors toe-to-toe with so many other Orisas in the league so far. Definitely leading the charge when it comes to that damage output on the Orisa versus everybody else in the West, and you're seeing it here. That's Terra Surge online, and you do not want to be stuck in a small room against that.
Justice trying to retake that bridge. The Matrix from OG assures that this payload will go past that bridge, and I got the overclock of Fitz, and he's staring right at that Matrix from Teru with no fear in his eyes. New York are running this. This was their map choice, although, you know, Antarctic was their map choice too, but this is New York looking so much better and honestly unstoppable.
We're gonna forget about AP real fast because I feel like New York Excelsior coming into this just have such a better game plan. That's one of the reasons why Control has always been so difficult to actually use as a litmus test in terms of moving forward in the match outside of, it could be really close. Let's look at like a 99 to 100% on all of these rounds. But when you have a team like Washington Justice that are so momentum-based and they're just able to capture the point first or even just like stop the onslaught, right, on a defense, it's just not happening this time. The shoe's on the other foot. New York Excelsior, they've already got the turret down. That's a big source of damage now gone here for the Justice, and you can have someone like Fitz go on a flank. Where are they go? What are Mir and Alpha you doing?
Try to go on this high ground, I guess, to get another angle on New York. Again, just ignoring the Orisa is so important with how much armor she has. We got a Torbok. Alpha Yi wins. And high ground for him, and that gives him a great angle on the backline. And even with the arc that Torbjorn's primary fire has, like, Alpha Yi shows that he truly can play anything.
Well, I mean, he is a Genji player, so I would assume his knowledge of geometry is actually quite good. Or at least the physics in this game, right? something science. Alpha Yi is a goat. I think that's all she wrote right there. But Washington Justice are making a bit of an adjustment. You've got Flora on the Widowmaker now. So even more pick potential when it comes down to the scope shots that Flora can take. And even just be able to snipe down something like the turret. But we've got Fitz still just kind of working up to an overclock. Maybe that's going to be the way that New York Excelsior can break into this. And Kellen has yet to use this Orisa ult. What are you going to do here with the Terra Surge?
Run at them. Donk walk. I don't know what it's going to take, but Justice at least getting a stop to New York when they hadn't lost the fight up until this point. Good for the defense. That time make, though, still intimidating. Benbest is very low. That could be an opening for New York. Flora is on the Widow. He needs as much space as possible. He needs to depend on Benbest going for that Terra Surge. And there's a lot of objects broken up, but Fitz is dead. So I think Justice have done enough to slow down Excelsior with those 2 kills.
They have, for sure. I mean, the Amplification Matrix to kick things off. You just open up so many possibilities to scatter the New York Excelsior into a small room, but that's not going to stop them right now, as we're going to see Captive Sons at full sides, but this time it's Mirror.
Shining bright like a diamond. Don't DMCA them. A Mirror caught them all in this tiny room. Makes them glow like a Christmas tree. Justice with back-to-back stops, and you're seeing Benbest being more confident to run in with that Terra Surge and continue to push New York back. We'll see how long Justice can hold.
New York have almost a full slate of ultimates, though. So you're really looking at them try to push the pressure just a little bit more. That card doesn't have too much more to go. If you use something like the Molten Core as well as the Terra Surge to be able to kind of just push it over the line. But right now, you're looking at Fitz's overclock to really open things up. Amplification Matrix as well can help to zone the Washington Justice back and make sure that they're able to just make that progress forward. They are at the 2-minute mark. Starting to tick down a little bit, but that's plenty of time to actually get these ults off.
Goodbye, Flora. You almost over-channeled that. It's almost to a BM state there, Kellen. Good opening there for New York, and I don't think anyone's going to stop this Warhorse, and I don't think it's going to be you, Teru. Kellen just single-handedly winning that fight gets New York one fight away from the end.
And that's so nice as well, because Fitz can just stay back. Use this overclock, push around this corner, hold this defensive position as that cart continues to inch closer to its final destination. And Flora going down, that's a huge opening here for New York to just completely close out the map here.
God, this Flora swap off of this, you're at the end of the road. I got in for a sec, though I can't swap. So I understand. Ant Matrix, is Flora gonna want to use that? At least you got the Molten Core to kind of push New York off of the cart. Overclock, I could see Fitz jumping in, and maybe not. Now that Justice have stabilized, they got that pick, and New York will have to reset.
Another reset here for New York, and now this is where you start to run out of time. You get the Captive Sun online, Kellen is going to be able to also work up to another Terra Surge, as long as he's able to do enough damage, but Fitz has yet to use this overclock. New York have been holding onto ultimates here. I would like to see them actually use it before they get caught by this Captive Sun.
The immortality is barely keeping them up, but Kellen, there's no running from this. Fitz Does he get enough traits with the overclock? He's gotten one on the Alpha. You've taken care of the carry. There's only a Widow of Flora to worry about, but with Justice having respawn advantage, this is the end of the road for New York on this attack. Captive Sub from Creative was the last hurrah. And with like, what, 4 or 5 minutes that New York had on C, for them not to finish is quite surprising.
It's surprising, but this third point is still one of the toughest to assail when it comes down to Midtown. You just don't have too many ways that you can surprise your opponents. And so, well, it is easy to sit here and say, oh yeah, just use the overclock. I can understand why New York Excelsior didn't see too many openings to actually get that ult off. And so when you take a look at that, like, hats off to the Washington Justice too, right? On the other side of things, that was a 5-minute timing that they had to whittle down. And they were able to use those strong defensive positions around the corners to really get that done. And also, super smart ultimate usage.
New York's, approaches on the point, I was a big fan of not just funneling all into 1 point of damage. You're really testing the Justice focus there of how they're keeping their eyes on the alleyway, where's their damage, can you catch floor reloading, whatever the case is. New York really snowballed it, avalanche through most of this map. They have just good win conditions too. They took bridge control and made sure that Justice couldn't retake off the Amp Matrix of OG. And you thought that avalanche was just going to continue on the point C, but then Justice had one fight win and one that allowed them to just breathe. And then the Justice were able to go with their normal game plan of cycling their ults and doing so well, like you said.
It was really stellar how much value they were able to get out of each individual ultimate as well. You know, just going for like one Terra Surge or even just being able to combo that with just one other ultimate. Washington Justice always had something in the bank to be able to contend with what New York were going to throw at them. Especially when that point is a bit defensively favored. You know, hey, you still have to be able to get the job done. So let's take a look at what's going to happen on the defense for New York. They're going to come out with the same old that they used on the attack here, but the biggest difference maker for Washington is it's going to be Flora on the Hanzo on their attack push.
The 3-2 split is nice. Flora can get those first picks and have consistent damage. Sojourn has to build up to that charge, and Fitz is having no problem with that. And as Justice come out like rats, Fitz is trying to cut them down, but so far it's Justice winning the pick battle. New York, though, are weak. They gotta be careful on this defense. They're trying to take shelter, but that space given over to the Justice to move over, and Flora with 2 blows open this point for the Justice.
I caught the healing pylon placement there too from Mirror. Like, even though Mirror got taken out, that healing pylon is still active. Like, it doesn't go away when the Illari goes down. And so Flora was able to just sit by this doorway, have the healing pylon completely pump that healing into him. And so even though he got really low, he got insta-healed. That was so fast and effective, and now Flora just off to such a blazing start, and Washington Justice, they're really pumping up the gas. Like, look at this. Flora's gonna have the Dragon Strike online, Tyros and the Amp Matrix. Those are gonna be the first ultimates online here, and New York are struggling to keep up. They've got to start getting this defense nailed, and that's an Alpha Yi Psycho like Torbjorn.
Yeah, Psycho just didn't get enough support holding that corner. It's all the way at the bridge. It was up to Psycho and Kellen to just communicate when the disengage was going to happen. Psycho takes the L. New York give up all of this base and control, especially of this bridge. With Justice having Amp Matrix, this could be another snowball situation, but this time for the Justice, look at the captive stun. It's still sneaking up on the card. Burst down the Alpha Yi, control back to the defense, but how's the high ground going? Justice throw down the Dragon Strike to push New York back. To get into kills though, it's all Fitz starting to tip, and that's against Kellen could be the final decider of bridge control, and Justice are still pushing.
Oh, that card just keeps moving forward ever so slightly. If New York aren't careful, that could just be a back cap, but it's going to be a get out of dodge situation. Washington Justice are able to regroup so quickly. And they're going to be going back in before New York Excelsior have time to breathe. Look at Kellen trying to make this rotation away from this high ground because of how quickly Washington Justice have moved on this. And Fitz able to fire back with a Dragon Strike now.
Oh yeah, that Dragon Strike splits up the Justice, who fire back with the Amp Matrix. Ben Best sits at the door. New York are not getting this bridge back. But Justice also don't have someone able to push the cart. Flora maybe can't be left on his own. You got a captive son. Benbeth does not want the smoke. So New York will win back the bridge thanks to that. And of course, that pick on the Alfie early helped a lot. So see how long New York are stabilized for.
And New York know that Alfie is a problem. You do have to focus him down, otherwise he could get out of hand, especially with the turret placement and just being able to get that nice crossfire with someone like Flora on the Hanzo. New York are able to set this up too, but knowing that they've been able to stabilize this defense, they have a much easier time now trying to stop this cart. That cart is slowly inching back under the car wash right now as well. And here comes a molten forward, but New York Excelsior are able to scatter away from this.
Don't worry, Alfie. Nobody's going there. Good multi-core, though. You got New York stressing. They're going to fire back with their own. A multi-core from Psycho sort of placed on that high ground to try to dissuade Justice from being there, but not a problem. Eru close to the Ant Matrix, but unfortunately not having it as New York are jumping up there. Kellen is in their face. Oh, she places it right in front of Kellen. The Ant Matrix trying to, well, shred the Justice, who is Mirror's captive son, just wins them the fight. That is insane.
That was so gross. Like, look at how much damage Alari can do, and this is one of the reasons why teams are swapping those DPS players over to play this hero. But New York Excelsior are able to come back with a team of 5, and that's Creative's time to shine.
Oh. Redbeth didn't channel the Terror Surge long enough to kill Psycho, and that was the only one caught in it. Justice only have one healer, too, of Terror, who's sitting comfortably on the top bridge. New York trying to see if they can get around Benbeth, who's protecting his DPS as best as he can, but New York with the space, with Fitz, the headshot on the floor. The defense can take this back, and Justice are running out of time to get the job done. It trades back and forth. Benbeth is low. Miracle is back, but for how long? New York, just matchup, it's just better.
It's been so good, too. This is just night and day from what happened on that third point on their attack as well. Instead of just being able to throw things at the wall and just seeing what sticks, things are actually sticking. And so New York, they've got the ultimate advantage going into this final minute. And you're right, Jen, they're running out of time. If Washington Justice don't get this card over the line and buy themselves some extra time, that is going to be New York tying up the series. But New York have so much to throw at this. If they throw everything, they still have like the Torb ult to be able to cycle through for the next time, and I don't think New York have to throw everything at this. As long as they don't get caught by Flora's Dragon Strike, which is really just a zoning tool at this point, they're gonna be okay. Creative got the captive son.
Kellen should maybe go contest the card, but he's prioritizing the bridge. Wow, the Terror Surge into the Dragon Strike. New York cooking up the perfect combo. Benbeth thought he could just sneak the card, but he's not invisible. Justice wipe at the 30-second mark. This could be New York tying the series.
If Arissa Crouch is low enough, then she can't be seen through the card, but sadly she's too tall. So yeah, that was just a great attempt at being able to push the fight a little bit closer to the payload, which would have played into Justice's game plan. But now you've got 9 seconds left, they gotta race back to the cart, and you've got the amplification matrix to start to zone them off.
Hey, Dragon Strike from Flora gets some bridge control, but someone has to stay on the card. So far, it's Alpha E. Benbeth, you need to W. Where is Benbeth going? Taking the longest route around. Alpha E's red. Justice were able to touch. Benbeth has emerged, and he has to be the anchor. That is why you're substituted in. But New York's damage output is simply too strong. And the captive son, the Terror Ant Matrix, didn't make enough of a difference. And the Justice fall in New York. Tie things up.
Really strong showing from New York on their home territory as well. Maybe they just have been able to use Union Station just a little bit longer than Washington Justice have, looking at the public transit options. But even still, just like how far they were able to push the payload, Washington Justice on their attack push already had their backs against a wall. That is so much time to have to make up. And sadly, like once New York Excelsior got firm control of that high ground, there was just no getting through that. It was such great crossfire coming through from Fitz and Psycho on the Hanzo and the Torb. And then Kellen as well, just showing why he is one of the best Orisa in the West right now. So much confidence behind his plays.
And Justice, they were good at taking bridge control, but not holding it. New York's plans, immaculate. Whether it's the Terror Surge, Dragon Strike, the Captive Sun value, this was a good matchup, but New York's plans just a little bit better, and hence why they thrived. This was their map pick. and they came in with a firm strategy. Kellen, I think, I would give him the tank matchup there too. The DPS picks were in favor of New York. Justice, I think, had a valiant push through the point, especially off the floor. The double headshot was insane, but it just wasn't enough for Justice to really snowball past point B.
You could see how much Kellen was able to get done with the Orisa as well. Just looking at how much he was able to convert over those Terra Surges too. Whether it was kind of getting down the Immortality field or the Summon or just making sure you were getting 2 players. Really nice stuff coming out from them, but now it's Washington Justice's turn to pick the next map.
Oh, but it was 200-0 on Control. We get to go to Control Junior. It's Flashpoint, it's Surfasta, it's Justice's map pick. Who will take a lead in the series, go to match point, get one step closer to playoffs? We'll find out on the other side of the break. a match, the New York growth story. It's amazing to see how much these players have improved, but especially a guy like Kellen. This is a guy you build a team around. He is so confident. His coach Chung-Goon said that he is confident no matter what meta is in. He has, in his eyes, hasn't struggled, and well, stats speak for themselves.
They really do, though. I mean, Kellen, even just coming into this week, when you take a look at his Orisa stats from this patch alone, is really just like leading the charge when it comes down to damage output, ultimate conversion, as well as survivability. Like, he doesn't die very often, and you can see why. Not only from the healing that OG and Creative can pump in, but he also knows how to use those cooldowns in such a way that he just isn't always at risk of dying. And so I think that's something that's really special about a player like Kellen, where you talk about growth, but how many different heroes have we really seen him on this season? It's the Winston, like he shows like the Junker Queen, the Ramatra. He's really shown us everything, and he has been improving over and over again.
And speaking of flexible tanks, guess who's back? It's Mirror, who had to check his hair. He's all smiles. Donghoon, happy to be back too. Main support, we're going to Flashpoint Surabasa in case you missed that before the break. This is for Match Point, who is going to lead the series where, well, it did look better with Mirror in the lineup. I think just the aggression that came out of Callan is what made a huge difference. He wasn't afraid, like you said, to go and Terra Surge the DPS, and he was good at identifying the windows where the opposing Orisa is out of armor, and that is the moment you need to strike down that Orisa, because she's just, you know, unkillable otherwise.
Oh, for sure, though. Like, just how much shield she really has is so difficult to chew through. So once you are more vulnerable, absolutely strike first and just take them out of the equation. One of the reasons, though, why Mirror's coming back in, though, yeah, we get to see more Junker Queen, and we also get a chance to see Alpha Yi on that difference maker Genji. And when you go back to the tried and true, that really can just be just a way to be able to get to that match point. We saw how effective this was even on the first map of today on Antarctic Peninsula.
No, Lucio from New York is interesting. I feel like a lot of teams...
That is weird.
Yeah, not very fast without him. And then you have the Junker Queen, which adds just another layer of speed and engage that Justice can use to take the fight when they want to, on their terms. Alfie on the top, doing some scouting. The point is unlocked. It's up to the Aristas to be that anchor. Alfie puts pressure on the back line. He's made his way through. He's got Fist already half health. But Kellen is so low. Alfie just has to redirect that attention towards the tank. Great skills out of OG and Creative to make sure that tank is alive. But because Kellen disengaged, the point is given up to the Justice to cap first. It's going to be very hard to retake without a recontest, as Alfie will be up to him to break open New York, who just don't seem to care about him at all.
Oh, but Terra's immortality field is now down, so this might be the time for New York to strike the Ant Matrix.
Look at that
Alfie
boy.
doesn't care.
Dash through 3 people back and forth. 3 kills for Alfie. It was just a matter of time. And I like that New York are just not going to panic and let Alfie ruin their structure, but Alfie was a problem on control before.
And he's gonna continue to be a problem. Ooh, I mean, like, I understand New York's strategy here. Washington Justice are playing such an aggressive composition. You have the Lucio speed. You called out as well that Mirror has a way to be able to get them into things faster with the commanding shout too on the Junker Queen. And New York at this point say, okay, well, you guys probably beat us at the speed game, but what if we bulk down this composition enough that we just can withstand some of that damage and that pressure and just play together as a unit? Look, they're not really dying to...
They're dying a lot. Cora says this ends now at 90+%. Yeah, he gets blown up. Look at this point. 100-0 for the Justice. A bit of deja vu of how AP went on map 1. So that's the first point for you. Wow.
That was explosive. I mean, when you take a look at that too, you just wait for that immortality field to go down, and then that overclock is at its prime. But as we take a look at where we're going next on this Flashpoint map, let's take a look at Palace. This is going to be really interesting to see how both of these teams play around this, because you do have those high ground nests that you can play through at each of the corners of this Flashpoint. So Fitz and Flora both can get set up for success here. But it was Washington Justice that beat them to the point first, and that's where the speed is so important.
And the central fountain acts as a good point of cover. Mirror gets stuck up, pulling in with 100 HP. When he gets healed back up, that is Justice have the Stalin Bear, the Dragon Blade, a big investment. Because Justice know how important it is to cap the point first. And like I said, with that fountain in the middle, you can avoid a lot of the poke war. New York are gonna have to engage in to retake this.
I mean, that was like an expensive fight coming through from the Justice, but as you talk about investment, they're really hoping that the stocks of being able to actually take control of this point first are going to go to the moon. Because now that you have invested all of that, it's the onus on New York Excelsior to get back into this. You can even see how far forward Washington Justice were playing. And, oh, they're walking right in.
Sarah has hid inside of a room and rampage from behind New York. They don't give up though. They pop their Ant Matrix. Might have gotten one pick, but this is this May that New York are having issues executing around. You can't slow down the Justice if they're already behind you.
I thought we were playing Overwatch 2, not Peekaboo, but I guess Mirror is on a different page when it comes to what game we're playing, and they still have control of the point right now. New York Excelsior have to start pivoting back, but there's still that dynamic duo of Donghoon and Flora on the point, and Mirror's already back because he switched over to the Doomfist.
Justice overextended out of this point to get those stagger kills, and Kellen, the Arisa, can 1v5, and that is the 2 kills that New York were able to get to retake this point. The emergency Doomfist comes out, which is not incredibly strong against Arisa with the fortified, the javelins. It's supposed to recontest, maybe off the walls. If New York can find an angle past Kellen, this will be good for Justice.
Well, this is where New York Excelsior's comp is going to shine as well. May is always going to be in a better spot when you are playing from a defensive position. So the fact that New York Excelsior get a chance to play around this fountain too, that is a lot of cover, and oh boy.
Oh, Creative was so smart around how he blew that door through that doorway when Flora popped the overclock. Did not want to lose value on the captive stun, but then also didn't transmit enough damage. New York fall, and Justice, if they win back this point, well, that'll be Palace taken in their hands, and that'll put them on map point on Surabasa.
It's going by so quickly, and by the time that this point is captured, and we get a chance to see where we're going next, but maybe Washington Justice are just going to stick to the Doomfist here. It's more important that they end up getting a chance to capture this first. As New York Excelsior come out of their spawn, we get a chance to see where we're going next, but they're going to get caught by the Justice from behind as New York trying to come out of spawn.
Boy, trying to cut down OG. Escape through all the shadows and the colors. Mortality bottom time too. Alfie also not wanting to be too desperate for kills, and Int especially. Going now into this next point of Ruins. Justice, the opening pick onto OG, executing finally onto one of the most important supports there of Excelsior, and now without that healing pylon, there's going to be even less resources for New York, as Fitz is still dealing with all the objects to cut down. You got the Terra Surge, but it didn't even happen. Alfie killed everybody.
Oh my god, Mirror actually just punched them into the wall and Alfie cut them down. This is such a strong position for Justice to be in, just knowing that they're able to enable this Genji to set up Alfie for success. I thought we would maybe see like another a double collat at some point coming through from the Sojourn. I did not think we would ever see the day again where Genji would just get 3 picks and 1 slice. But now that they've got control of Ruins, look how quickly this point is ticking up. Flashpoint can go by in the blink of an eye. And so we see the amplification matrix come through, but New York, they've got to start investing ults here.
And Justice, I can already tell, have learned their lessons from overextending past Palace. That is like the only fight they really lost. They lost to themselves. The sound barrier. Great timing from Donghoon as New York engaged, and even the Amp Matrix there from OG, plus the tactical visor of Fitz. It's not really getting any kills for New York. Like you said, this is picking up so fast. 80% plus. New York have zoned, well, Justice enough to flip the point, but haven't really killed them. Justice can re-engage just as quickly.
And I don't know if Washington Justice care that much about giving up the point either, because they're working up to ultimates at this point. Alfie is so close, Flora as well. You get 2 of those ultimates online, and that just could be a shutdown here for New York, unless Creative can have anything to say about it.
Well, yeah, the Captain did hit Donghoon, and Excelsior caught them all grouped up, found and executed. A good fight win for New York. With, well, a molten core and a terror surge to defend. They're going to try and extend out of this to get stagger kills. This is such an important point for New York to be flawless on, because 81 for Justice is a lot.
You also need to make sure that you're in line of sight for OG as well. The Baptiste healing is so imperative to be able to win this next fight, especially when you're looking at something like Alpha Yi's Blade. If you get caught out by that and there's no immortality field there, that could just seal the deal. This is going to be Washington Justice coming back into this. The good news for New York is they did get Flora's overclock out, and they didn't find any value. So New York now at this point get a chance to work up to the molten core as well as the terror surge, and now just start to play by point. You can't get caught by this Blade, and that would be disastrous.
Oh,
If Amir
overtime? Overtime? Okay. Oh, no touchers? So nobody? Donghun was escorting Alpha Yi around to find this incredible angle, but we forgot about the objective. We forgot about it. So New York take a point. We go to the fourth one. We'll find out what that is, but hey, New York really had him distracted with the terror surge.
Yeah, that was really nice too, because take a look at where this next point is going to be. New York get a chance to get there first. We're going to Temple, and now you get a chance to play this once again from a defensive position. So Washington Justice have to try to open this up with something, but it looks like we've got a pause coming through. Maybe just a little bit of a technical difficulty. As yeah, Washington Justice do look off their game a little bit in this map now that New York have found control.
And Justice had to change that look, right? With the Doomfist. You thought that was going to be a better engaged tool with Alpha Yi, but it's such a difficult matchup. And you see that Alpha Yi and Donghun are finding creative ways to get past Kellen, to get around him, to access Psycho, to deal with that turret, go after the healing pylon. There's just so many little objectives that Justice have to deal with. The first point now capped there by New York, and see if they can force point 5.
It's really good as well when you take a look at just how nicely that combo worked out on Midtown. Like, you've got the turret as well as just Ilari's healing pylon, which is definitely a way to be able to get through things. But hey, Mirror heard you. So did Flora. It's going to be 2 huge picks here for Justice to get back in.
Yeah, Psycho puts the molten core all over the point, but that's not where the fight was taking place. Justice, again, angles, engage around Kellen, ignore the point. Well, sometimes not too much. And that's what won Justice the fight, and they're back in control.
Oh, and now they get a chance to play with the Blade, too, just a little bit more forward. New York might want to take an eco push here. If they fall to the Blade now, maybe they try to get a way to get the overclock back out, or even Mirror's ultimate, then you get a chance to go back in with so much time left in the bank, too. Like, you already captured 43%. You're just looking at maybe losing a fight here, or even if you win this fight, then you might get push to point 2.
There's just non-stop stuns coming out of Mirror, who already got bit not once but twice. The Meteor Strike to re-engage, forcing all the tools out of New York. But then it's Alpha Yi, the Blades to rule them all, even some deflex into Psycho. You don't get to see that too often. Justice have more kills, and they have the point. This will be up to New York's last chance to recontest.
We're going to see that Sombra pick coming out from Fitz, so New York Excelsior really feel like their backs are against the wall. And this isn't even to get the EMP online. This is really just to try to get a hack. Alpha Yi, Mirror, either of those targets are great to be able to catch off guard, because then you are able to negate their mobility tools, and maybe you're able to take them out more easily, just like that.
Well, Psycho and Fitz are already low. Kellen starts the overtime push. Is it Justice taking Sravasa and going to that point? It's up to 4. Let's get Matrix! And it gets Kellen at the ankles. He can't recontest. We're creative with the captain stun. You don't want your support to be the one that jumps in, but he has to. And he's shot down by Flora like a fly. And Justice takes Sravasa.
Their map pick, showing us why. Genji OP. Please nerf Alpha Yi. He is actually just too strong in this matchup right now, and he was one of the keys to success we were looking at to be able to take this match away from New York Excelsior. Otherwise, things kind of come up New York in this one. Like, Kellen, I think, is such a strong Orisa. You take a look at how Fitz's Sojourn has been able to pop off these last few rounds, and even just taking a look at the last 2 matches, but Genji. He's back. Alpha Yi is him.
He is him. And I mean, even this first fight was all Alpha Yi. Thought, okay, they're gonna ignore him so that they can kill everyone else but Alpha Yi, but that didn't happen either. Dong and Teru are so good at just managing the team when it comes to healing. Justice doesn't really get too low, and then you have Flora who just kills everybody. New York also have to be careful where they will just take fights in these tiny rooms against a Flora Overclock, a Miron Junker Queen, a Miron Doomfist. New York just kept putting themselves in these tiny rooms and then had no route of escape. Justice had some points where they overextended when they had full control of the point, and they couldn't kill Kellen, and that's how New York had some retake potential. New York then also had like a C9 thing happen where Justice just didn't even recontest, and New York got a free point. But then New York just kind of put themselves in the middle of the point against Justice, who surrounded them. And I like that Justice are able to just adapt their strategy based on what tank they're playing.
They really do, and I think that they're able to play a lot with those flanks, just knowing how like Alpha Yi can really go off on his own accord. Flora is also very self-sustainable. We're heading to Colosseo next. I certainly wouldn't pick Esperanza, you know, as a classic dive map. I think you're even more enabled to be able to play the Genji. The Colosseo makes a lot of sense. Try to set up fits, try to go for the kill, and we'll see if New York can get back into this one after this break.
New York, their tournament lives, their season lives are on the line. It's match point for the Justice after a 3-1 victory for the Justice on Suravasa. But the man, the myth, the legend, the threat on your screen, at least the hero, Genji, the Alpha Yi God, is making a difference for the Justice.
It's just such a big difference, too. I mean, Alfie, he already had a deadlift coming through from Antarctic Peninsula, just not giving New York Excelsior a chance to breathe. And he's able to have, you know, pretty close repeat success over here, too. Just taking a look at how much damage he was able to get down on the team. Like, if you're not looking behind you, Alfie's back there. So you might want to have eyes in the back of your head, too.
The zigzag there on the highlight. I'm glad we got it. He's also such a measured player. Like when he has Dragon Blade, like here he knows he's gonna get everyone half health. He's gonna get the dash resets. He's got the backup of his team. Even at times where he wasn't sure if he got kind of the initial start on his blade, he wouldn't int in and hope he gets a kill. He's someone that is happy getting no kills and keeping his life. And even speaking to his coach, Get Amazed, Alpha, I was wondering like how does the lack of MVP nomination affect Alpha? Was he gonna come into this like needing to prove himself? Because I would be petty as hell, like trying to be like, I should have been on that list all along. Alfie only cares about winning his matches and how he performs on the scrims. His performance is what matters to him the most, not the accolades. And his work, his hard work shows.
I think it's a great mentality to have. When you look at every single individual match, you just get a chance to look at it compartmentalized. And yeah, I think for a lot of players, like you do look to try to get that MVP, you try to get that role star. But these two teams, you know, they've had a lot of hardships throughout the season. And when you know that their tournament life is on the line, you just have to keep looking at it one match at a time. Get through this, then figure it out from there. And Alpha Yi really has been just such a huge difference maker for the team that it's really not a wonder why New York Excelsior are going to try to find ways to stop him. Like, get him out of the server. Get him off the Genji. Because that worked for New York on Midtown.
And when I asked Chonggood from New York, like, who is the one player that improved the most? Like, we're hyping up so much Alpha Yi, but New York have done so much growth of their own. And Chonggood actually shouted out Creative, who came into the season with so much demand and, you know, in terms of the nature of dive compositions and with their team not being at the top of the line, the lack of experience in mixed teams for Creative, it put so much burden on him, but he led with, quote, example, believes he's a role model for aspiring support players and both in and out of the game. That's what his coach thinks about him. And Creative has been performing really well, but can he pull through? Can all of New York pull through on potentially their final map here on Push Colosseo?
You talk about Creative too, like just showing off so many different versatilities when it comes down to the supports that he can play. You've got the Ana, the Zenyatta, the Baptiste has been really strong, but now getting a chance to see him awaken on the Alari has been really fun to watch too. Midtown was just such a breakout performance for him on that hero. But I would really like to see New York lean into this Lucio. If this is what we get, this is very different from the other maps that we've seen so far, where I would have expected to see the Lucio on Control, on Flashpoint, and most certainly on Push here to try to keep up with Mirror.
And OG has brought so much to New York, and it's always been challenging for both these teams to integrate that new main support, but OG actually communicates a lot, and more than the team expected. The personality vibes with the team, and this has really been a boon for New York. That speed's going to be important to get Kellen in and out of trouble on the Reinhardt of all things. Such a ranged map too, where Reinhardt's weakness is how long he can maintain that shield for, because once he's exposed, that Rein is a sitting duck. But playing that corner very well. Alpha Yi ready to also climb over this wall if he needs to, with the Genji just assassinated Creative in 0.5 seconds. This Bastion Psycho cannot turn around fast enough. Alpha Yi truly is wearing an invisibility cloak.
Hey, where is he? I don't know. You're dead is essentially how that has been going, for sure. Like, Alpha Yi too, like, if he's... I really thought that this map in particular would force him off of the Genji. You are looking at having to wall climb a lot. You're looking at keeping yourself in a bit more vulnerable of a position, because you don't necessarily have the easiest pathways to be able to get these dash resets and try to take somebody out. But New York, they've got to keep up the pressure. This Bastion can prove devastating if you're able to land it onto the right target. And Alfie can't deflect everything. And the Reinhardt build can really help out with that too.
Oh, this Amp Matrix from Terror right into Kellen's shield, and somehow New York just holds strong. Justice just played this dance, but it's still Justice that come out on top. And it is so hard to shut down Alpha Yi too, because you have this Lucio of Donghun escorting him around. Fitz swapped to the Sombra to try and hack him, but he's just not fast enough.
This is going to be so rough as well. Like, you know, the Sombra here, you're really looking at it converting value over with the EMP. If you're able to get the hack, that's great. But at this point, who are you hacking that's going to actually just tear apart this composition?
Ooh, Sound Barrier plus the Blade and the EMP to try and stop Alpha Yi. But what else can New York produce? Well, they just beat down the Mirror. We just didn't have any more support, and this will only be a 46-meter start for Justice.
New York now get a chance to start matching that progress, but where things get really tricky is going through this underpass, especially when Washington Justice, they get a chance to set up on this high ground, and that is free sightlines and free reign over New York. Flora loves this position. Teru as well can stay so out of dodge to be able to deliver this Baptiste healing, and who's gonna touch him at this point? I guess Vids, but...
Well, peekaboo, surprise mirror, and he's already half health, but it's Kellen that committed so much to that kill, and Kellen is the one that's down bad. With Flora on the other side, I'd be worried too. Overclocked from above, down in the faces of New York, who are trying to split away and make it as, well, take as long as possible to die. And it's New York that tried to bait the fight to be inside of this long hallway, but then just sneaking up to Mirror is what, well, thought was going to be a good start for New York, but Justice fought harder.
And Justice were able to throw down that immortality field as well, which really stopped Kellen from being able to follow up on that pick. And that's why, like, that Terror positioning is so valuable. But Psycho's time to shine. Let's see if we're going to get anything with these mortar strikes.
You're just catching them on the jump. This is like a mini game of its own, but you're not really going to get a kill until you can layer more of those Bastion shots on top of each other. But hey, the space, the panic that you produce is a lot. Kellen trying to have bot control, but it is hard. You'll have to remove Mirror by force with the Ant Matrix. Quick speed, disengage, good call from OG. New York don't want to take that fight, especially with the shield health that Kellen had. They can maybe depend on the Fitz EMP, but Justice are fine with not pushing further than that. They are the ones in the lead. The weight is on the shoulders of New York.
Not for long.
We're starting to run out of time too. 5 minutes, 40 seconds. Starting to whittle down this time bank. And New York, they've got to get this EMP online. The good news is that Fitz is keeping up with Alpha Yi. It is limiting the potential of that Dragon Blade, especially if Fitz can land that on top. And he's hacked right now, but it's still not stopping Flora. The threat is Flora right now. You've got to do something about this Sojourn.
Fitz tried to be more involved in this fight to build up to that EMP, the big win condition for New York. We're forced to take this 4v5 fight with no Rise Shield, and Alfie in the back with a Dragon Blade. He's got everyone low. I can't even see anymore. I'm throwing up. But Justice are back on the bot with a lead that could even get more out of this, but sometimes they don't like to leave this pillar side.
I don't think they have to do anything more here except to try to keep playing defensively. If they're able to get this first checkpoint, they're in such a good position, especially knowing that we are starting to reach that halfway point here of Colosseo. Fitz has the EMP though.
EMP is most of the Justice. Sound Barrier gone. Amp Matrix towards Excelsior. So many ults came out. And Kellen was late to this Justice. Raced behind Kellen to get to the back line. And as the dust settles, it's 3v1 with only Kellen defending this bot. And that will be forward spawn for the Justice.
Justice are going to get this point capture, and there's nothing New York can do to stop this. I would love to see them switch, though. This Bastion isn't working. You might have the Mortar Strike online right now, but it's just not doing enough at this point. Even Fitz is going to give up the Sombra. It's not as effective as you would have hoped it to shut down Alpha Yi. And even when you take a look at New York just trying to play this foreground, if you're on the Sombra, you're missing a key player in every single fight. Playing these 4v5 is just not going to cut it, especially when the Sombra isn't converting over the value you would like it to see. Now New York, though, they do pass that midway point. They do shut off those forward spawns here for Washington Justice now, but now it's about actually getting progress on this bot.
Oh, well, the shatter has always been towards Mirror. They hate that individual in particular. Also, one of the very few they can catch. Everyone from the Justice is so mobile, which I guess could be a counterpoint to the May pick. Who are you looking to wall? Is the win condition for New York just to kill Mirror and will not allow any space for the Justice? There's a mortar strike pushing Justice off that top bridge. Flora is still hanging around. New York have to make up this bot push, but don't seem really committed to get more than the 35 meters. Alpha Yi wanted that dasher sent off of Fitz, and he's so close to it. Callan's trying to pin out. He's pooped back in by Donghoon, and Justice are farming.
Oh man, this is just such a tough position now for New York to be in, and with so much on the line. 2 minutes and 45 seconds now, and New York are staring down the barrel of being sent home. Lemon Kiwi, they have this amp matrix and they have to be able to lay it down, but it's the rampage first.
Oh, goodbye. That's a 4-man rampage, and exactly what you don't want if you're a Rhine composition. Why hasn't the Orisa swap happened yet? When you have a Rhine, you play around the Rhine, and the rampage is the exact kryptonite to that. And that was one ultimate Necra. There's 4 more for the Justice, and they're reaching the 100-meter mark.
They have so much left in the tank right now. They can just push the gas and just sink this home. You got the amplification matrix. The wall's gonna block it, but New York Excelsior have to cower right now. There's just so much damage potential coming up from the Washington Justice, and they are looking at a full capture here to send New York home.
New York tried to sneak around the corner to maybe drop the Blizzard at their feet. Fitz didn't see the opportunity, but Flora sees some foreheads. The overclock value is huge. The sound bear, the commits, the Justice running down New York, putting them back where they belong. 125 meters. The passion, the huddle up. Justice about to cap at the finish line to stop New York and end their season early. Here's the Fitz Blizzard. This will stop Justice from completing. Izmir was trying to touch the spawn room doors. New York have 90 seconds to get the job done.
And now they have to play on point. They have to play on point. At least it's not over yet. New York are scrappy. They'll be able to keep this up for at least a minute more. There's no ult on the board here for Washington Justice, and that's what New York are playing to right now. Kellen has an Earth Shatter. He's been able to hit Mirror both times with this ultimate, but you're looking at being able to convert this over, and Fizz has been a big difference maker for this so far with the main walls and with those slows. But this work is so cut out for them. And Washington Justice are huddled around this corner and using these skills to be able to lock down New York.
There's just no shield for Kellen. He's trying to bait Mirror towards him. The Ant Matrix, though. Justice respect that. The Shatter, always targeted towards Mirror. You need to deny that rampage value, at least not get clumped up. Mirror's so close to it. Callan in trouble. Fitz not even there. Wasn't able to follow Callan. The poke from the bridge from Justice is just too strong. New York playing such a weak comp. The double shatter kill, giving heart attacks to the Justice and to the fans all around. But at the end, it's only 3 Justice members remaining on the bot. They will not push it anymore. Flora, against his former team, will be cutting down their chances of making playoffs. The Justice have done it. They take the series 3-1.
What a glow up there from the Justice. They looked so shaky heading into the play-ins. Just taking a look at their last 2 matches. They looked dizzy. They looked like they had no idea what they wanted to play, but it looks like the proving grounds were enough. And all that experimentation was able to pay off. Congratulations to the Justice to be able to get that job done, especially against a formidable opponent. 7 out of the 8 of us had the New York Excelsior winning, and Johnny is gonna take this one down to the grave, I think.
It's gonna have the longest yeah boy but Alpha Yi style on the desk, and I'm looking forward to hearing that. But Also, how difficult this season was for the Justice, having one coach who's managing everything and putting in so many hours. I'm trying to ask Getamaeus questions, and he's like, I'm on 2 hours of sleep. Stress. You see the passion. You see how much these players and the entire team care about this win. They pull through with the exact same scoreline that they beat New York with in the previous meta, just not even that long ago. And although we all believe that New York on paper should have won, the Rhine composition was just too difficult to execute. They couldn't get close enough. The EMP value was to only slow down Alpha Yi, and New York will have to go back to the drawing board.
What a season for them, though. Major credit to New York Excelsior. They have been able to show us so many different looks, and to be able to show all of that improvement as well over the course of the season has been really fun to watch. And all of those players are so bright in their roles and had so much to show us. But the one that was shining above them all, Alpha Yi, the Genji, whatever he was playing today, whatever they fed him for breakfast, more of that. Washington Justice need it, as they are not done yet today.
And I also want to give a special shout out to Flora on Colosseo, just pulled his weight. We've just hyped up Alpha Yi so much, but Flora getting first blood so many times is what really propelled them through Colosseo. But Alpha Yi, the blade value insane, and even when he wasn't sure, he knew when to pull back. He's not hyper aggressive, but only at the right moments. Even through a Sombra chasing him around, he wins that duel, dodges the hack perfectly, synchronizes with Donghoon for rotations, and knew how to execute, knew also the windows of opportunity to engage. And that is the most difficult part of Genji, because if you dash in without support, without that reset, you're an turret, you could be in trouble. And look at his death throws. Under 3. That's how much survivability he had as such a difficult hero to play.
That's actually just so crazy to be able to see a Genji just constantly get set up like that too. Notice in the kill feed as well just how much support Alpha Yi was getting. It takes a village sometimes, but it also takes the governor to be able to actually execute on this. And if Alpha Yi with that support wasn't able to get it done, then gotta find a new president, I guess. But congratulations to the Justice. They put on such a performance today, and good luck to them against Toronto Defiant, heading to their third match today.
So we're already wrong in our bracket. I don't know how I feel about this, but...
Well, the desk was round 2 outside of Johnny, so there's that, I guess.
Yeah, congrats to the Justice. They stay into play-ins. Only 2 teams move on, and New York are our first ones out, but I'm excited to hear from the desk about their thoughts, so let's send it over.
올라. 라이너. 돈 푸시카. 폴리즈 시나에. 에너미.
It is.
영화 여기서 윈도. 트레이서.
오케이.
띵커버 트레이서. 아이즈 히어 터치 투. 이럴. 비하인드. 스케 지급. 나이스.
왔다잉.
이제.
Welcome back, everyone. That was the first match here in the play-ins. It was an elimination match, and unfortunately, we now officially say goodbye to one of the teams, and it is New York. Okay, listen, Johnny. I know you're celebrating right now.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about, Alpha Yi. Let's go, Washington.
Can we show our desk spread one more time?
Get
I'm pretty sure we all agreed with New York.
We all agreed on New York, and during that conversation, which was just yesterday.
Johnny was right. I gotta say, Johnny was right.
That's right. That's what we're talking about, Johnny.
But he was also wrong.
We gotta own it. We gotta own it.
right there.
No, he was right today. He was wrong yesterday. You know, it is what it is. But you went down with the ship, unfortunately.
That's a print right there.
It doesn't matter. You bracket is still
That's the only thing that matters, Howie.
But
So
you
is
Brand is the only thing that matters.
For the group one, he had New York, and then for his personal one, he has Justice. So
I think he just
either
does
way,
that.
if New York won, he'll be like, oh yeah, we all
You
won
got
together.
God.
Yeah.
You got God.
Yeah, I think.
That's it.
All right.
You got
No,
the play.
I
We gotta
think
give him
Like
this
a
one. We
figure.
gotta give him this
Sure.
one, guys.
Fine.
You know what?
He's just playing both fields. I don't know if I can respect that, to be honest. Someone I do respect, endlessly so, is
Who
of
is it?
course, he's the truth. He's everything. It's Alpha Jesus.
Bow down.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's pray for Alpha Jesus joining us for the post-match interview. Alpha E, big congratulations on getting the win. You guys looked fantastic. How did you guys get the win today against New York Excelsior? 자, 오늘 굉장히 좋은 모습으로, 강한 모습으로 경기를 끝마치고 승리를 거두셨는데요. 오늘 승리 좀 어떻게 이루시게 되셨나요?
오늘 뭔가 저희가 좀 하고 싶은 플레이들 그런 게 좀 잘 돼서 뭔가 잘 됐던 것 같아요.
I think the biggest reason is we sort of went in thinking that we wanted to play that's something that we wanted to play, and it sort of worked out while we were playing the heroes or competition that we wanted to pull out, and it sort of just worked out that way, and that's how we got the win. Talking about things that you guys wanted to play, of course we saw you on that Genji, and you really sort of carried the game. I feel like because of that, and because a lot of people when we talk about watching Justice, we mentioned your name Alpha E a lot of times. Do you feel pressure to perform while you're in your matches? 자, 두 번째 질문은 이제 방금 말씀하셨다시피 좀 하고 싶었던 걸 하셨다라고 말씀하셨는데 이제 그 중에도 오늘 좀 알파이 선수의 겐지가 굉장히 좀 잘 보였던 것 같아요. 아무래도 이제 겐지 유저로서 또 아무래도 워싱턴 얘기를 하면은 알파이 선수의 이름이 굉장히 많이 나오기 있기 때문에 좀 이런 이유들 때문에 좀 더 부담감을 좀 느끼시나요?
뭐 부담감은 느끼지 않고 그냥 부담감 별로 안 느끼고 일단 그냥 진짜 죄송한데 혹시 한 번만 더 말해주실 수 있나요?
네, 그러니까 뭐 겐지나 일단 딜러기 때문에 그리고 또 너무나도 잘하는 선수이시기 때문에 이런 상황에서 좀 이제 좀 어떻게 보면 중요한 상황에서 경기를 임할 때 뭐 긴장감이나 좀 부담감을 느끼시지 않으신지 여쭤보고 싶습니다.
별 생각 없이 그냥 뭐 부담감 없이 그냥 하는 것 같아요.
There's not really much pressure that I feel. I just go in and focus on the game, and that's how I usually play with my teammates. All right, final question, Alpha E. You guys have one more match against Toronto. How confident are you guys going into that matchup? 자, 오늘 이걸로 끝이 아니죠. 우리 또 워싱턴이 이번 경기 승리했기 때문에 다음 토론토 좀 이따가 경기가 또 다시 토론토 디파이언트와 경기가 있을 텐데 좀 그거에 대한 자신감은 좀 어떠신가요?
사실 저희가 일단 맨 꼴등 시드부터 가는 거긴 한데 그래도 지금 메타가 저희한테 좀 나쁘지 않은 메타라고 생각해서 좀 저희 플레이만 잘하면 이길 수 있을 것 같아요.
All right, definitely. I think going into these matches, we are definitely coming in as the sort of the last seed in the play-ins. But I mean, I do believe that it is sort of a good meta for the Watching Justice team. So if we play well, I'm pretty confident that we could get the win against Toronto Defiant. All right, I'm going to wrap it up here. Alpha, thank you so much, and good luck in your next game. 자, 이걸로 인터뷰 마치면서 보내드리도록 하겠습니다. 감사합니다.
네, 감사합니다.
Fantastic to hear from Alpha E. What a performance by the Washington Justice. Maybe it was that huddle. Or maybe it was the huddle. Maybe it was the vote of confidence from Jonathan. Sometimes that's all it takes.
Thank you, Zoe. That's a vote of confidence, if anything. Yeah, no, but I mean, that huddle might legitimately have helped because they looked just so aggressive with the composition they had, going in aggressively with the dash, with the Jungle Queen commanding shout, which leads you a speed boost. And they really took it early on here on Antarctic Peninsula. I mean, you're diving in and you're getting rid of the immortality fields, and then, the backline's open for Alpha E if he wants to get there. The Dragon Base is really good. And I feel like this playstyle this season has been what really suits the Washington Justice. So this is the perfect time for them in the playoffs to bring out the quick, faster-paced, dive-heavy Washington Jungle Queen composition. And I mean, it worked out for Alpha.
I honestly feel for New York. I mean, aside from Midtown here, where the poke matchup did look good for them, that was their strong suit as they played this the whole series long. I think if anything, this match just emphasizes to me how difficult it is to replicate Toronto's success. New York basically played the same style that we've seen Toronto play time and time again. And, Justice weren't able to beat Toronto in their regular season match. However, they just got a great warm-up, and they're probably feeling very, very confident, which is how they have to play. Like you said, Alfie going to the backline. I mean, not only did he do that this game, he has to do that every single fight. When you're playing this Lucio Genji Queen, you have to get on top of those backliners. You have to kill them off one by one. He's very, very aggressive, getting the speed from your Lucio, the shout from your Junker Queen. So it has to be played at high tempo. There's no other choice. And I think for me, what I'm worried about is Toronto going to be able to keep up with this tempo? We know they're the best at this slow comp, but it looks scary to play against Queen right now.
Yeah, I think another thing as well that we sometimes forget with the Washington Justice, we sometimes mention Flora, and Flora has had some decent games, but and a lot of these teams in the play-ins, they usually have two really good skill players on these different heroes. You think about like Vancouver Titans, for example, Sugar Free, really good Genji, then you have Heesang being able to play the Sojourn. So you have two skill players that really back each other up. Alfie can go aggressive on the Genji, but Flora has some really good overclocks on the Sojourner, especially on Flashpoint. I think that he stood out there. So Washington Justice not only having Mirror on maybe his preferred tank hero, which is the Junker Queen, and being able to go aggressive, you have two really good skill players being able to play Genji and Sojourn. And I think they really showcased today that they're both able to make plays for their team and get these entry picks that really make it so much easier to fight 5 versus 4.
Absolutely. Any last words here for New York before we sending them off officially?
You know, it's a tough way, as Psycho, was it Psycho who said it? Not like this.
Yeah.
Tough way to go there at the end. But I do feel like Justice were just more solid in their vision right now. I think this match was decided rightly. It's how it has to be. When Justice has a vision like that, they can execute on it so well.
And also, this was mentioning that going into this season, I don't think a lot of people had high expectations of this team, but they actually got quite a few wins for New York Excelsior. That is, yeah. I think they suppressed expectations, and in the middle of the season, a lot of people thought that, hey, New York Excelsior, they're a mid-table team. Unfortunately, they go out first here in this elimination match in the play-ins, but I don't think that represents what they were able to pull off this entire season. So I think they should be pretty proud of what they put forth.
Absolutely. Nonetheless, they will be going down with the ship, so it's time to actually send them off in style, of course. So let me get this one started.
If you love it, set it free.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, New York.
Thank
Goodbye.
you so much.
You made us proud.
Thanks for everything, New York. Ever upwards.
Join the others. Be
That's
free.
right. They're free now. We had to let them go. Joining the Gladiators, Valiant, and of course, also Eternal. And we'll take a short break now, but when we come back, we'll be talking about the Deutscher Hammermann going up against Proper's Genji. Tough one after this break.